Welcome to Truth Uncovered. In today's world of emotional warfare, mind games, and subtle manipulation, there's one man who always seems to come out on top, not because he's louder, not because he's physically stronger, and not because he fights harder, but because he doesn't react, he doesn't flinch, he doesn't argue, he doesn't beg, he doesn't explain. She expected the storm, the same heated argument, the emotional ping-pong match, the usual back and forth. She was ready to defend herself, to cry, to rage, to plead. It's because that's how it had always gone. That was the rhythm she relied on. But this time, nothing. No texts, no calls, no emotional retaliation. Just silence, and that silence hit harder than a scream ever could. Because the man who doesn't react is no longer playing by her rules. He's rewritten the rulebook, and once a man reclaims control over his own emotions, the game changes permanently. In this video, we're going to explore why the man who doesn't react always wins. We'll break down the psychological power behind emotional control, the tactical advantage of silence, and the life-altering transformation that takes place when you stop being a pawn in someone else's game. If you've ever been triggered, manipulated, baited, or trapped in emotional chaos, this is your wake-up call. Like this video, subscribe to Truth Uncovered, and hit that bell for notifications. Let's dive deep into the 6 foundational truths of emotional dominance and unlock the quiet strength of the man no one forgets. 1. When you don't react, you flip the power dynamic from the time we're told that strength is shown through action. React fast, fight back, prove yourself, assert dominance. But in reality, true power isn't loud. It's quiet. It's measured. It's deliberate. She expected you to argue. She wanted you to chase. She waited for the emotional explosion. Why? Because that's what you've always done. It's what most men do. They show their hand. They validate her control by proving. They still care, but not this time. This time you did nothing. No explanation, no dramatic speech, just calm, and that calm. It's terrifying. Because in your silence, she loses her control. She begins to doubt her influence. She starts questioning herself. Is he over me? Did I push him too far? Why didn't he react? The lack of response becomes the loudest message. You're no longer emotionally available on command. And in that moment, the power dynamic flips. It's not that you're being cold. It's that you're being in control. Composure isn't passivity. It's a display of inner power. And that is where the game truly begins. Too emotional. Discipline is the ultimate intimidation. Imagine this. She screams. She accuses. She tries to corner you emotionally, and instead of matching that energy, you look her in the eyes and say, absolutely nothing. You don't yell. You don't explain. You don't beg. You breathe, and that stillness, that unshakable calm, shakes her. Why? 'Cause it's rare. 'Cause it's not something she can control. Because most men break. They crack under pressure. They try to fix things. They overcompensate. But not you. You've trained yourself. You've stopped giving people the satisfaction of seeing you fold. You've cultivated emotional discipline so refined that it becomes intimidating. People who rely on manipulation, hate, emotional discipline. They want you reactive. They want access to your emotional buttons. But when those buttons don't respond, the manipulator falls into chaos. She may throw silence at you, hoping you'll chase. She may test you with jealousy, with absence, with attitude. But if you stay grounded, she finds herself emotionally naked, stripped of all the power she thought she had over you. Because emotional discipline isn't just strength, it's dominance. 3. Reaction. It's proof of attachment. Stillness is proof of strength. Here's a brutal truth. Every time you react, you tell her she still owns a piece of your emotional real estate. You respond angrily to a delayed text she knows you care. You try to defend yourself from her passive aggression. She knows she got in your head. You chase when she pulls away. She knows you're still hooked. Your reactions validate her emotional power. But when you stop reacting, when you pause, when you choose silence over chaos, you send a different message. You say, I'm in control now of my mind, my peace, my life. You no longer chase validation. You no longer need closure. You no longer dance to the beat of her emotional music. And here's the twist. Stillness doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about something greater, yourself. You didn't become emotionless. You became elevated, and the more still you become, the more visible her behavior becomes to her. You're not blocking her out. You're holding up a mirror. She sees it all now, her games, her manipulation, her inconsistency reflected. In your stillness, you didn't slam the door. You just stopped answering it. Point 4. The man who controls his energy controls the outcome. Energy is currency. Every time you argue, plead, explain, or overreact, you're spending energy. And most men are going broke, emotionally, without realizing it. But a man who controls his energy, that man controls the outcome of nearly every situation he walks into. You see, most people walk into a room and instantly react. To a look, to a word, to a facial expression, to a social media post. But the stoic man doesn't get pulled off center. He doesn't give his energy away like it's free. He walks into every situation grounded, composed, prepared. She could insult you. She could test your confidence. She could ignore you completely. And yet, you stand still because you understand the secret. You don't owe your energy to anyone. Not to prove yourself, not to gain approval, not to win someone back. You only engage on your terms. And that's what separates you from every other man she's ever known. 5. Her tests stop when you stop playing every emotional test. Is just one question in disguise. Can I still control him? When she ghosts you for a few hours, it's not just to hurt you, it's to check your temperature. Will you chase? Will you panic? Will you beg? When she flirts with someone in front of you, it's a test. When she picks a fight out of nowhere, it's a test. And the moment you react, you just answered her question. You said, yes, I'm still emotionally invested. Yes, you still have control. But here's where everything changes. When you don't react, the test dies. You've exited the game. You no longer validate her behavior. With your attention, you no longer reward disrespect with response. You no longer argue your worth. You become emotionally untouchable. And what happens when she realizes her tests don't work? She panics. She questions herself. She becomes reflective because now the silence is doing something her games never expected dits, forcing her to confront herself. 6. Silence triggers more reflection than words ever will. You had every chance to argue, to fight, to send the long message explaining everything, but you didn't. You went silent. And that silence, it echoed, it haunted, it unsettled her more than anything you could have ever said. Silence is uncomfortable for people who thrive in chaos, because without your reaction, there's no distraction, there's only reflection. She replayed the moment over and over. Why didn't he react? Did he stop caring? Did I go too far? And she'll never know the answer, because you didn't give her one. Silence is not a sign of apathy. It's a sign of power. It means you've stopped trying to explain yourself to people who were never listening. You stopped chasing closure from people who never offered clarity. You chose your peace, your growth, your self-respect. The truth about stoic power, let's set the record straight. Being stoic isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. It's about feeling everything but choosing what deserves your energy. It's about seeing the manipulation, the disrespect, the baiting, and walking away. Anyway, because strength isn't shown by how much noise you make. It's shown by how little you need to prove. The man who holds his tongue while others scream. That man is unforgettable. The man who walks away without needing the last word. That man becomes a mystery she can't stop thinking about. Because that man wins without even trying. How to apply? This starting today pause before reacting. When someone tries to provoke you, don't respond immediately. Breathe. Think. Then decide if it even deserves your energy. Observe more than you speak. Silence lets people reveal who they are without your interference. Stop playing games you didn't agree. 2. The moment you recognize a test opt-out, protect your energy. It's your most valuable asset. Don't trade it for approval. Let people feel the weight of losing you. Without explanation, without drama. Conclusion in a world that glorifies overreaction and noise. Be the calm. Be the silence. Be the man who stands tall without lifting his voice. Because when you master yourself, your emotions, your energy, your reactions, you win. Not with anger, not with begging, but with unshakable composure. If you're ready to stop being controlled, to reclaim your power, and to become the man that no one can manipulate like this videos, subscribe to Truth. Kava Dond. Comment below. I choose peace over chaos. Let the world adjust to your presence, not the other way around, because in the end, the man who doesn't react always wins.